Minnesota Vikings got a thrilling victory in Week 12, and now they get to host the Arizona Cardinals, who are coming off a tough division loss. My name's Tyler, here with my brother Ryan, and we're going to break down this Week 13 matchup between the Arizona Cardinals and Minnesota Vikings. But before I get into that, we do have a goal of getting to 6,000 subscribers by the end of the year. So if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, leave a like and a comment. Let us know who you think will win this game and why. Ryan, great game in Chicago. Minnesota beat the Caleb Williams-led Bears in a kind of wild finish. They almost blew it in the end, almost blew it. One of the few rare onside kick recoveries by Chicago set them up for a field goal to tie it. But in general, though, I don't want to take that away from just a solid game by this Minnesota team for a full 60 minutes. I think Sam Darnold has been playing well. Jordan Addison had himself a game. And this is what's kind of scary about this Minnesota team is when you have Jordan Addison and TJ Hawkinson both having over 100 receiving yards. And you're like, oh, like what's wrong with Justin Jefferson? Oh, nothing. It's just because that's how good those other guys can be. So if you're a defensive coordinator, you already have to worry about Justin Jefferson, who can have 200 yards in a receiving game.
Yeah.
Easily. But now you have these other guys that can go and explode against, honestly, a good Chicago Bears defense as well. Yeah. Also ran for 124 yards. Aaron Jones had himself a great game as well. Like, just great all-around game, I think, for this Minnesota Vikings team, even on the defensive side of the ball as well. Chicago's offense is improving a little bit. And so they put up 16 points before kind of the final last-second drive, and then the onside kick where they gave up like 11 points in 90 seconds-ish, if not less. And so still just a good overall performance. Going up against this Arizona Cardinals team, who is up and coming as well. They have great rookie receiver, Marvin Harrison Jr. Kyler Murray is a solid quarterback in the league, and then they're one of the better rushing teams just as a whole with James Conner and company in that backfield. Defense is improving, but still some left to be desired. To me, I would say Arizona is the underdog coming into this matchup. Do you agree? And if so, what does Arizona have to do to come up with a victory here in Week 13?
Yeah, I mean, I think Arizona is the underdog here. I do think running the football is going to be very important in this matchup. Minnesota has a good rushing defense, if I remember correctly. But the biggest thing
they're first overall.
Oh, so, okay, yeah. So they have a very good rushing defense.
And rushing yards allowed. So
pretty good. Yeah, pretty good. But for me, the biggest thing is going to be just kind of stifling this pass rush. They send some pretty exotic blitzes, and I think if you can show that you're willing to consistently run the ball, even if it's not that effective, it just gives this defensive front one extra thing to think about when running after Kyler Murray, who is already an elusive passer himself. So I think for me, be consistent with the running game. Try to avoid third and longs where this pass rush can really pin their ears back, and then feed Marvin Harrison Jr. He's clearly your main target. I know Trey McBride is there as well. Michael Wilson is having a good year also. But getting Marvin Harrison Jr. involved early and often, I think, is just so important for this offense, because they do have one of I believe their top 5 rushing team in the Cardinals are. And for me, with this rushing attack, they can really stress teams out with that. And then I think Marvin Harrison Jr. can stretch teams vertically, which is only going to make things, I think, easier for this running game.
Well, it's also you're spreading misinformation. Cardinals are 6 when it comes to
6.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're not top 5, you liar. But so it's not even – but, yeah, so they're one of the top rushing teams in the league. And that a lot of that, though, is too – I mean, Kyler Murray has some rushing yards, yes, but that's primarily – it's not – as much of him being the dual threat quarterback. He's also having a decent season throwing the ball as well, becoming more of that pocket passer. But today, for example, though, him and Trey McBride had a great connection as well. Michael Wilson's been doing well also. Marvin Harrison Jr., yes, has that deep threat or just overall threat capability as well that you have to look out for. But there's also been a lot of other good play by the supporting characters as well in that receiving room. So, and who knows? Maybe I'm wrong on that. Maybe Marvin Harrison's a supporting cast to Trey McBride. And so, but there's still some good weapons that
you draft a guy at 4 overall. I doubt the tight end's playing.
Yeah. You draft him there to be a backup. I completely agree. And so, but I'm joking, by the way. Stop typing. But the good young receivers and just pass catching core that are going to keep building on as well, especially then to within this running back room. So this is a very formidable offense that a lot of teams are going to have to worry about over the next several years. But I agree with you, though, when it comes to then the running game as a whole, because that's where you're going to have a top rushing offense going up against a top rushing defense as well. You go look at the Bears' performance. Caleb Williams, he was their leading rusher with 33 yards. And so when it comes to more set run plays, they had 16 carries on 45 yards, so a little less than 3 yards a carry. Not entirely the best overall performance there when it comes to the more set running plays. And so, there's an overall point. Oh, but then with this Minnesota defense, they've only given up over 100 yards rushing 3 times so far this season. One was in week 2 against the Niners, barely over 100. Week 8 against the Rams, barely over 100. But against Detroit, they gave up 144 rushing yards in that game. And it's kind of something a little bit similar, in my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong, and this Vikings fans leave me wrong, let me know if I'm wrong. But when I go look at this, like how the Lions offense kind of runs, where it's definitely more run first focused, good offensive line presence. And Lions offensive line is better than Arizona's, admittedly. And then that kind of opens up, the run game opens things up in the passing game as well. I feel like Arizona has that similar style. They want to lead through James Conner. They want to lead them through Trey Benson and Emery DeMarcado as well. Then you do have then the elusiveness threat within Kyler Murray as well. But from there, though, then you've got good guys in play action like Trey McBride that he can hit as well, Marvin Harrison Jr. So I'm going to be curious if that's going to be somewhat of a fit for Minnesota coming into this game that Minnesota's going to have to worry about, because there are weapons on this Cardinals team. Now, that being said, though, too, all that's for naught if the Vikings defense is the number 1 overall rushing team. If they show up and they're the number 1 overall rushing team at home, give up less than 75 yards, then that's going to be a really tough game for Arizona coming to this matchup. So offensive line for Arizona is going to have to play well. They're going to have to win in the trenches. And then on the flip side, too, they're going to have to somehow provide pressure to Sam Darnold, because over these past several weeks, Sam Darnold has protected the ball a lot better. He has played better just overall. There was a little bit of a dip, I think, in, let's say, weeks 7, 8, 9. Like, they lost 2 of those games there where he was turning the ball over, especially that Indianapolis game, that first half of that Indianapolis game. It's like he was trying to hand the Colts just points. But then Joe Flacco's like, oh, you're too kind here.
Yeah.
They just kept throwing interceptions to one another. I think he's come out of that. I think they figured some stuff out. And if you're Arizona and you think about the stats that I mentioned earlier from this Bears game, the Vikings-Bears game today. So I already had to stop Justin Jefferson, but now Jordan Addison can put up 160 yards. TJ Hawkinson can put up 114 yards. Between those 2 guys already, that's just a great passing game. Well, I guess that was the rest of their passing yards essentially, but it's like that was 276 passing yards between the 2 of them. Like, yeah, that's a great game just in general for any quarterback. And so, like, now you have to worry about those guys and Aaron Jones running out of the backfield. And the Cardinals defense isn't particularly spectacular. 18th in total yards allowed, 20th in passing yards allowed, and 17th in rushing yards allowed. So there are absolutely vulnerabilities that they need to address in the offseason and keep on getting better. And with Jonathan Gannon as the head coach, he's more of a defensive head coach, but they are improving. So all that being said, when it comes then to my prediction for this game, there are avenues for Arizona to win, but I think Minnesota, they righted that ship where they were not playing their best ball. I think they're figuring some things out. This is a big win on Chicago on the road, and now they're going to be at home hosting the Arizona Cardinals. Absolutely, there are ways I can see Arizona winning this game, but I'd probably say 67% chance, maybe even higher, that Minnesota is going to be the winner in this one. So I'm going to go with Minnesota in this one, and I'd say decently high-scoring game. I'll say 31-20 Minnesota.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to go with Minnesota also. I do just think that they are the better team here. Also at home, I favor them as well. So I'm going to go with them. I'll say 28-24. I think it's a close game. I like what Arizona's doing, but I just think Minnesota's going to have a little too much for them. So let's go ahead. We'll wrap this one up here. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. Also, while you're down there, go ahead and leave a comment on who you think is going to come out ahead. Will it be the Arizona Cardinals? Will it be the Minnesota Vikings? And that we'll see you guys next time.